How can we act on these results? The audience for contemporary classical music is clearly in most places still an educated elite, and there are many environments in which newcomers feel insecure. While live audiences might seem particularly distant during the current pandemic, this is still a good time to reflect upon audiences and to come up with new means of interacting with them. Here are my overall recommendations based on the study results. Firstly, think about everyone who might turn up to your event. While the results show that the vast majority of respondents had attended a contemporary classical music concert before, at almost every concert surveyed, there were people that had not. Non-musicians and amateur musicians were actually also in the majority at most concerts. Outside of the very most expert environments, so those composer-focused academy concerts, there is actually quite a lot of diversity in familiarity with CCM. Keeping this in mind when organising concerts, designing formats, and providing information about new pieces could help to put together experiences that feel more inclusive. Secondly, take risks with the format and try to engage locals and amateur musicians, something that could also be done remotely currently. The works that involved some form of deviation from the normal concert format, whether that was a form of audiovisual presentation, an installation, some kind of participatory element, these works attracted audience members that had different characteristics from the rest of the sample. In most cases, these audience members were completely new to contemporary classical music, or completely new to that host institution, or even both, as was the case with that Milan concert. Such pieces were also received much more positively or more intensely than works in more conventional formats. There's therefore a lot to be gained from taking on projects that are unconventional or possibly more informal in format, benefits which could well outweigh the higher production costs and time involved in producing them. And find ways to connect with your local community in this, and maybe question or have a think about what their idea of contemporary music might be. And this is something, as I just said, that could be done remotely right now. Thirdly, find opportunities for composers and performers to connect more directly with audiences. While I didn't get the chance to talk more about the general associations with CCM, audience members frequently chose the word inspiring to describe it, and many also associated it further with innovation and creativity, as well as experimentalism, as I discussed. Wanting to hear works by young composers or to stay up to date with current music were also mentioned as motivations for attending concerts. This suggests that the creative process itself can be a site of interest for audience members. A lot of artists might feel that their works speak for themselves, but audiences might actually be keen to hear more from them on the choices and process behind it. And finally, curating across genres and art forms can be an effective means of changing up demographics, given that people come to CCM from different musical angles. I know this is something that a lot of interdisciplinary institutions already do, but more consideration along these lines could be fruitful and help to combat the view that contemporary classical music is closed off or isolated from other forms of music and contemporary art, as I mentioned at the start. More diverse lineups in terms of artists, ethnic background, gender diversity will also bring more diverse audiences. In all of this, the aim is to create meaningful, sustainable relationships with audiences. It's not about just getting more people to your event, it's about ensuring the relevancy of your ensemble, venue, concert series or festival, and the art that it presents. So here's a loose 4-point plan for getting down some first thoughts on how to relate to audiences. If you want to, this can be developed into a clearer strategy, or it doesn't have to be. And it can always be adapted to the amount of time and money you have available, but it could end up saving you both of those, since you won't be wasting resources on poor marketing or on ideas that haven't been fully thought through. So firstly, think about who your present audience is. This could be based on informal observations, or you could collect data or look at your booking data. It's important to have an idea not only of demographics, but also of their behaviours, When do they book? Why are they booking? Or do they tend to buy tickets last minute on the door? What kind of experiences are they having? And you could just hand out small cards at one of your events and trigger responses, or you could have a discussion, however you want to find out more about your audience. Then it's important to think about, who do you want to reach? This could be deepening relationships with people who already come and enriching their experience or connecting with them in a new way. Or you might have a specific group in mind that you'd like to reach. Young people, the audience for a different type of music. And after you've defined this, you can move on to thinking about how you'll reach those people. At the moment, it's a good time to think about your online strategy. Maybe you could touch up your newsletter and think about how you're presenting content there. You could run an online ad campaign if that's something your organization has available to you, given that print media such as posters and flyers may not be that effective at the moment. Think about new presentational formats or more participatory formats that could be run. An audience exchange with another institution that presents a different art form is a way in which you can bring different interest groups into contact and create a forum for discussing new work. Additionally, as I mentioned on the last slide, new curational strategies can often be very productive, and it's important to think about artist diversity in that. And perhaps most ambitiously, you can also think about creating an outreach or an educational project, maybe one that works with amateur musicians or local musicians. But that often can involve more time and money. But whatever you choose, it's important to review, evaluate, and update your plan regularly. So finally, I think we should work to empower audiences for contemporary classical music across all contexts. It's important to be led by audience experience in this, not just by wanting to change demographics or wanting more people to attend. What is the quality of the experiences they're having there? I still think we're a little bit far away from having contemporary classical music be for everyone. But I think it's important to think about the different tensions between the more radical, the more experimental that exists around this work, and how it can be made more accessible. I don't think those two things have to be polar opposites, and it's important to think about how those terms play into both production and reception of new music. Overall, we have to be aware that we can't go on as we have done before. It's time to be open to change. And I'll leave you with a comment from an audience member who felt similarly, a young professional working in CCM. And she wrote, "It's stupid, but I don't want it to be this way. I love it and I wish we did it differently." Thank you for giving me your time and attention. If you'd like to find out more about the study, please go to my website. And if you're keen to know more about the studies I referenced, we'll have those available for you too. Thank you very much.